Hi, everyone. My name is Shan He. I work at the data visualization team at Uber. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about why data visualization is important and different data visualization areas that my team is working on. So why is data visualization important? Many of you in data science might have been very familiar with this example. So all four of the data sets has the exactly same statistic properties. They have the same mean, sample variance, linear regression, and even XY correlations. But once you plot all of them on the simple plot, you actually can tell there are significantly different data sets. So data visualization help us review the patterns underneath the data. It makes data a lot more easier to consume. Like, no one knows what's behind those numbers. Like, we are not robots in the Matrix movie. We cannot tell whether there's a beautiful red dress lady behind this. But once we color them with a simple color code, not a red dress lady, but close enough. So this is a cheesy example, but it tells us how we can use visualization to make data a lot more easier to see. And so talk about visualization, the first thing I want to say is, like, what is Uber's data like? Use the word like. So this is a video showing our global expansion from the first ride we did in San Francisco. And then over the course of 5 years, we reached our million trip in 2012. And then we have been growing rapidly. We did our 1 billion trip in end of 2015. And we quickly did another 1 billion trip in June 2016. What's interesting enough is because there are so many trips happening at the same moment, there are actually 147 trips all started at the same seconds, which we count them as our 2 billion trip. This data visualization tells you how, like, the volume or the expansion of data we're handling globally. And let's take a close look at different cities. This is all trip in 1 day in Mexico City in 2014. Each of the line is drawn by the GPS trace of single trip. And this is 2016. So, we talk about numbers every day. Oh, we did like a couple thousand trips in the city. But what does that really mean? By visualization, we can tell you, we almost covers every single street in Mexico City in 1 day. And then data tells you how much depth we have in how much impacts we're doing in cities. So what do we do with all this? We want to contribute our specialties into growing of our business. We want to help build a more intelligent and efficient system. So there are a couple of focuses area of our team. The first one is we build visual analysis tools, mainly helping our business intelligence team to build like reporting and real-time analysis with charts and networks. We also invested heavily into our mapping applications. So we love geospatial data. So we built like maps that visualizing trips, pickups and drop-offs, and even street segments or building layers. We also working on core frameworks. So once we build these tools, we want to make open source frameworks so anyone can just use our libraries to build pretty visualizations. And in the end, as Corey presented in her presentation, we want to use data to tell like stories about Uber, data about Uber. So I'm going to go through each of the area briefly. Our team basically powers the visual layers on top of most of our business intelligence platform. One of this example is A/B testing platform that Olivia just talked about. So we built this experimentation platform that have our engineers to launch their own experiment, configure it, and then later on monitor the result of their experiment. From this interface, you can compare results of your experiment through across different treatment groups and then with a handful of different metrics. You can look at through a very brief view, looking at how good or bad each treatment group is doing, or you can look at like confidence interval view to compare your experiment in a deeper visual representation. Second, mapping. We love maps. We want to make rich geospatial data exploration tools for our engineers to have them better study the geospatial data. So have anyone here done any geospatial analysis study? Yeah. And I guess you all use tools like ArcGIS or QGIS. Yeah, so, desktop tools where you click on like add layer and walk away for 3 minutes and come back, something shows up. So we want to solve that problem for our engineers. So we built this advanced mapping analytics application on a browser for better geospatial data explorations. Engineer can use this tool to visualize any geospatial data, creating different layers like scatter plot or arc layer, heat maps, or even 3D heat maps based on what's in your data set. An example of this, I also use New York City taxi data, 1 day of it, and plot it on the map and then configure the visual by, color the points by different fares or different times, or filter them through what time the trip actually happens. This is an example how I create this visual. So I just upload the CSV, contains 1 day of New York City trips. And then our platform is smart enough to detect the geo points in your data set and automatically creates point layers from your pickup locations and drop-off locations. So this is all the pickups in 1 day of all the taxi trip. There are 400,000 points being drawn on this application, but it takes 10 seconds to load, and then you can interact with it pretty smoothly. And then you can even turn on like the drop-off layer, which is in blue, and then zoom in and zoom out. This is currently you are looking at like 1 million points in the browser in real time. And later on, you can filter them. You can basically filter the data points by any fields in your data set. So in this case, I'm filtering all the trips by when it happens. So I'm only looking at all the trips that happens during rush hours. And then the blue ones are drop-offs. Yellow points are pickups. I further filter out just the evening commute trips and then compare them side by side. You immediately see like there's a very diverse pattern in here, like almost all the pickup and drop-off reverse in the sense. What if I want to see the correlations between pickups and drop-offs? There's this arc layer I draw by connecting the dots. And like in New York, a lot of trips are going between the center of Manhattan and the 3 airports. What if I want to looking at a specific area of the city to see where the trips are starting from that trips, where are they all going to? This is a way that helping us to study the connections between different parts of the city and the travel pattern of the city at different time of day, the growth of Uber pool to a sense. Many of you doing geospatial study, you don't want to just looking at each single point, you want to looking at the aggregation of it. So we do a lot of hexagon here. I'm drawing a heat map using hexagons. The color of this heat map is based on number of trips. So I'm looking at the density of pickups inside the city. And I want to go fancy, add the 3-dimensional layer to this to have the height correlate to the number of trips. This way you can immediately spot out the top percentile, the ones that tallest. And a reverse operation of this is if I filter out the top percentile of distribution and then I redraw the height based on the rest, I can then later on see a more settled distribution among the lower percentile to see how the density plays through the rest of the city.